Okay. Now, granted, it was their 5th game in 7 days.
Sure. No, that is true.
So, how concerning of a loss is this?
Back-to-back, don't forget that.
And on a back-to-back. It's legit concerning. The best thing the Bucks have going for them in regards to this matchup, in regards to this matchup with Boston, is I don't think they're going to ever have to play Boston because I don't think Boston's going to beat Philadelphia. But Boston has shown they are the worst matchup in the league for Milwaukee. They have, and it can't, I know your point of 5 games in 7 nights is noteworthy, but what is also noteworthy is a win last night and Milwaukee essentially locks the 1 seed and can rest the rest of the way. You know, another important day on the calendar, Christmas Day, when everyone is up for games.
That wasn't great either.
Boston has played Milwaukee with Tatum and Brown playing twice this year. Can we show America what Tatum and Brown have done in both of those games, Brew? Because what they've done is score 70 combined each time, and Boston has scored 139 or 140 each time in blowout fashion. And here's the other part of it, because I do believe Milwaukee is still going to be the 1 seed. I don't think Boston's going to run them down. But Boston knows they can go to Milwaukee and win. They've done it 3 times in the playoffs with Tatum and Brown. 2018, Giannis' season ended with a loss to Boston. 2019, Giannis got him, but that was Kyrie. You remember when Kyrie, Brew's guy, was like, I'm going to guard Giannis, and they lost 4 straight games.
Unwise.
And then last year, and this is the most concerning part, because for Milwaukee, Brew, what should give them a sense of calm is we have Giannis. We have him, and no one else does. When Giannis is at his best, Boston did, to their credit, last year in an elimination game in Milwaukee, take Giannis's 44-20-6 and walk away with a victory. So I don't think this is nothing. I think this is something, and it would be concerning if I were, Fear of the Deer Friday, Kevin Wildes.
Well, fair.
It is definitely something. I hate to tell you. Actually, I don't hate to tell you because my pick, as everybody knows,
was the Nets.
The Celtics.
The Nets.
The Nets chose to disband.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure.
They might as well not be in the league right now. So they chose to disband. Mm-hmm. So the bylaw said I get another pick. I could have taken the easy route and gone Milwaukee. I went with Boston because I saw something. And what I saw was on display last night.
Okay.
The Bucks are a great defensive team. But what makes them great defensively outside of Giannis?
Brook
Length.
Lopez. Yeah.
Brook Lopez is humongous.
Jrue Holiday
Bobby Portis is big.
Yep.
And Jrue Holiday is a legitimately great defender.
Yeah.
But Jrue Holiday's the only defender they have on the perimeter who can keep somebody in front of him. Pat Connaughton? Grayson Allen?
Okay, you can't just
Joe
pick the white
Ingles?
Guys. Now we're 3 for 3.
I'm just keeping it real. They have no chance of keeping Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, not to mention some of the other Celtics, in front of them.
Richard in front of them?
All right, in front of them. And you mentioned it, they have field days. I'm going to show you. You went great into the numbers, but this is something similar.
Sure.
Check out in the 2 games they played this year. Tatum averages 40.
Yeah.
Who's got Tatum?
Look at the field goal percentage. 65%. Look at Jaylen.
Not great.
And from 3, they're high as well because those guys can't stay in front of them. And then on the flip side, you mentioned Giannis. Look, nobody shuts Giannis down. But they do about as great a job as possible on Giannis. He gets the points fine.
29.
Look at the field goal percentage, though. This is Giannis we're talking about.
That's a good point.
That 42%, that's the lowest ever. That's the lowest for him this season.
Against any opponent?
Well, the second lowest
43.
against any opponent that he's played more than once.
Sure.
All right, so they have as much of an answer as you can have for Giannis. The Bucks have no answer for their athleticism and their drive into the bucket. So I feel darn good about my prediction, Wiles. It's Fear the Deer Friday, but so what? I feel good.
Okay. Now, there is some professional and personal risk of abandoning your childhood team because you believe in the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis.
Wilde's a Boston fan.
And especially
you did that.
When on national television they get blown out by 41 points. And I don't think you guys would blame me if I said, you know what? I've decided to go back to being a Celtics fan.
Well, no, that's
We
called
would
a
blame.
page out of Bruce's playbook.
Out of the bylaws. If you grew up in the town,
Yeah, exactly
you
right.
can go.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't grow
is
up in
true.
Boston, but
That
close
is
enough.
true.
Sure.
I'm not doing that. In fact, I'm doubling down, and I'm calling in the recruits. Because sometimes we use Dusty for research, we use Josh for research. Josh, I couldn't use you today. Mike, can you come in with the stats that will make me feel good about why I'm doubling down on the Milwaukee Bucks?
You're so
granted,
You're so dumb.
we tried to
You're
Bruce
so
is not
dumb.
Bruce. Mike, you
What
have
in
my
the
cards
world
too.
is going?
Thank you.
And he's got food on his table.
Raisins.
Yo,
Reason number one.
is he tame?
Best record after a loss. Who's the best record after a loss? Well, it's the Milwaukee Bucks. I expect a huge bounce back game, which bodes poorly for your 76ers.
Yeah.
How do we get better? What are we expecting? Mike, can I
I
have
can't hear a word you're
research
saying. Well, I'm just
card
looking at the deer.
number 2. The Bucks defense this year, defensive rebounds per game, or RPG. First. Opponent's
Wow.
field goal. There you go. We're getting raised.
Be careful, Wild.
Opponent's field goal second, defensive rating third. Still excellent. And finally, bro, I know you're going to say like,
the anthem.
well, you know what? The East still runs through Boston.
Yeah.
Well, does it?
Yes,
Because
it
in the
does.
last 2 years, let's look at. Oh, sorry, Mike. Thank you. Playoff wins first. Point differential first.
Well, yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
They won
Because
the
all I've been reading about is that the East belongs to Boston because they got to the finals and lost the game. So for those reasons, bro, I'm sticking with the Bucks.
Well, this
Look,
Bucks
you got no choice. You got a reindeer in here. You got no choice.
Well,
and I get it,
We
but
tried to get a real deer, but
Wildes,
Yes.
Nick alluded to it. Your best hope, and the best hope for the Bucks,
yeah.
is
is
Philly
that
beating
Philly does their bidding.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because look, I respect the Bucks. So I am not going to just totally say it's over. They got no shot. Giannis is the best player in the world. Milwaukee is a great team, so I respect them. It'll be a challenge.
Can I
But
state
Boston
the
is
obvious
the
here?
better team.
Can I
It
state
has
the
their
obvious
number, I
here,
think.
guys?
Yes, go ahead.
Wildes was so confident. And this is where Wildes,
Right.
because Wildes calls me into his office often and is like, listen, let me tell you a lesson David Letterman taught me. And it gives me all these TV lessons. And so he tried to take a page out of the old Nick Wright book, which is call your shot.
Yes.
Because you know
Watch
your
out for the
team's
anthem.
going to win.
Yes.
And book trumpets and banners and all these things.
True.
And now the whole idea here was Milwaukee was going to have beaten Boston.
Yeah.
And then they were going to beat
Lock up-
Philly
lock up
on Saturday.
on Sunday,
And
yeah.
you were going to be able to say, look,
Yeah.
everyone fears the deer. Instead, they were down 100 halfway through the second quarter. And now it's just like, well, the reindeer was already booked and paid for. That is what happened. And now
Yeah,
you're
that looked
stuck.
really good.
You
Yeah, that
couldn't
looked really
cancel it
good.
because the deposit was non-refundable. The reindeer doesn't even want to be here.
Reindeer likes the raisins.
Reindeer knows what
Reindeer
happened.
like-
He got
the
slapped
reindeer likes the
last
organic
night.
So, I mean,
raisins.
this was maybe, you maybe called your shot a little too early on this one.
Well, it's a little bit of mental gymnastics. I buy that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things you said, let's just say they weren't untrue.
Yeah.
That being said, bro, when the Bucks were being shellacked last night, a part of me did think, you know what? Because Reggie Miller's like, oh, Boston is sending a message after a bad loss in Washington, traffic notwithstanding. They're coming to get their get back. Yeah. Well, doesn't that same philosophy hold for the Bucks? That the Bucks just got embarrassed on national television. Your guy Adam Lefkoe, with an MVP vote, by the way, was like,
Shout out to
"Oh, what a disappointing
That was
game!"
a
At
game.
halftime, this wasn't the game that we wanted. Everybody was like, "Ah, this stinks." I think Giannis is embarrassed, and it's going to be a little bit of fire.
You are right. And that doesn't bode well for your pick.
Okay.
Correct.
Milwaukee is going to punish Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Oh, but that's in one game.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
They're-
whether or not it matters
but they're
for
going to beat Philly
Saturday.
And here's the problem, though. Boston knows, and so you mentioned Boston knows it can go into Milwaukee and win a big game. Guess who else knows?
Milwaukee, yes.
Like
Correct.
last year, Boston beat them 2 out of 3 games in the playoffs in
In
Milwaukee,
Milwaukee.
I think that's
including that game 6 when their backs were absolutely against the
100%.
wall
Best
and they
game
could
of
have been
Tatum's
sent
life.
home.
Best game of
Absolutely.
Tatum's life.
And now you mentioned it, when Tatum and Brown play, they've not only beaten them, they've destroyed them twice, including in Milwaukee. So they have not only a physical advantage on the perimeter, they got a mental advantage. They live rent-free in the Bucks' mind.
Okay, well
Giannis said it last night. Giannis is talking about it's in our heads. How are we going to respond?
We're either gonna, the Ranger doesn't like hearing you talk
I'm a little
trash
worried
about
about
Giannis.
this Ranger.
We can do Boston.
Let's turn the page. Go to the Celtics side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Tatum and Brown shot 66% from the field. Celtics now 2 games behind the Bucks. Here's both teams' upcoming schedule. The Bucks have the Sixers, that's a W. Wizards, Bulls, Grizzlies, Raptors. Meanwhile, the Celtics have the Jazz, Sixers, Raptors twice, and then Trae Young.
Yeah.
Brew, 1 seed still on the board. Do you think the Celtics are going to get it?
No. I don't think it'd be great. It'd be lovely if they did. But I don't think they get the number 1 seed. I think Milwaukee will keep that. And as I just explained, the Celtics don't need the number 1 seed.
Well,
they know it. All right? Now Cleveland, I believe, has beaten Boston 3 times this year. So if you're Boston, I'm not saying they're running from anybody or fearing anybody, but Philadelphia in the second round might be a preferable matchup than Cleveland, because Cleveland does have the athleticism we talked about.
Okay, first of all, sorry, I was distracted by
Philly
the reindeer trying to gore
defenders on
Kevin
the
Wildes.
perimeter
The
either.
reindeer has now left the building.
Let's get that off whatever that is. It don't look like raisins. That's all I'm saying.
Let me do some actual
don't look like raisins.
cogent
It looks
analysis.
nasty.
Drew tried to slide in there that Cleveland might be scarier than Philadelphia,
Philly's
which
not
is
scary.
an absurdity.
Really?
Drew,
Philly's got this great playoff pedigree, right?
Cleveland does?
No, but Philly's not
stop.
scaring anybody.
Brew.
They got Embiid. Great.
Right, the guy who you said yesterday was league MVP.
He's fantastic.
Brew, stop saying that Cleveland might be more preferable than Philly.
No, all I'm saying is they've beaten Boston 3 times.
Okay, that's fine. Here is where why, to me, Boston is far from a lock. First of all, the coaching question is a massive one. A new head coach, a guy that they did not want to have as their head coach. They wanted Udoka and what Boston is going to deal with it, what he is going to look like in the postseason. But also this, because of Miami's swoon, getting Miami in round 1 now is probably going to be the treat of the 2 seed. And you can squint your eyes all you want.
They can't
but
score. They can't score.
Brew. I saw Brew's Wild East, where you had Miami 5th. I also saw this year when they have split with Boston. I saw last year's Eastern Conference Finals, where it was a 7-game series that went down to the final shot. The idea that getting Miami in round 1 is at all preferable to the Knicks or the Nets, the Knicks without Julius Randle potentially. Right. So in that's not, I'm not saying I would pick Miami.
First of all, we don't
Boston.
know if that, we don't know if that's going to be the matchup or not.
Right,
so
correct.
Miami's got a lot of work to do to get to that matchup, being that they're going to probably be in the play-in. And Miami has problems scoring. They can defend, but they have problems scoring. I don't think they can score with Boston. And here's why I don't question Joe Mazzulla. Ime Udoka was a first-year coach last year, too. True. All right, and their record this year, even with their struggles here and there, is better than it was last year. They haven't had the long stretches of poor play that they had last year. They haven't let, a bad loss become a week-long slump as they did at times last year.
Hold on.
They're better than they were last year.
Here's what I'm saying. I don't know that I agree with that. But here's the point I am making is going into the postseason last year, Boston's coaching was a question mark. It got answered in a highly positive fashion. But any first-time head coach, their first playoff run, we learn a lot about them. That is a question that Boston is dealing with that the other Eastern Conference contenders, Philly and Milwaukee, are not. For good or for bad, we know what Doc Rivers and what Budenholzer are come the postseason. For good or for bad, at least we know it. With Mazzulla, it is a total unknown, and I don't, just like it was for Udoka, Udoka he did, I thought, brilliantly on that run, but that is not a guaranteed thing for every team and every first-time head coach.
Okay.
It's a question for the Lakers, by the way, with Darvin Ham. It's a question for any of these guys.
Well, LeBron lost.
That's what you're hanging your hat on?
What? No, I
That
think
Joe
they will lose to
Mazzulla's a
Philly.
rookie coach?
I think the fact that that you can say Joel Embiid's the league MVP, James Harden might be all NBA, Philly is not as scary as Cleveland. I don't think you believe that.
Just because Jokic might be the MVP. Should teams be scared of him just because he's named MVP?
If I thought he was the MVP, I'd probably be scared of him.
A lot of MVPs, that's historical that a lot of MVPs have gone out in the playoffs earlier than expected.
Coming up after.
Actually, they're
after
expected
the
to go out
break.
in the second round.
Lakers in Minnesota. Knicks prediction on the line tonight.
A deer?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.